Part 2.
How to make a guitar. You will hear a man being interviewed on the radio about his work as a musician and a guitar maker. Before you listen, you have 30 seconds to read questions 11 to 14.
Great to have you here today, Hamish. I've been a fan of yours for ages. The very first rock concert I went to when I was 13, your band was playing.
Gosh! I'd like to thank this station too, Juliet. If I remember rightly, Ray Rogers' interest in Soundhole's second album put us on the map.
Good old Ray. Alas, who could forget when Soundhole broke up and Ray wept live on his show?
But to set the record straight, Soundhole isn't getting back together despite rumours on social networks. My performing days are over.
Even solo?
Especially solo. Frankly, solo gigs were a nightmare. I was so anxious every time I went out onto a stage. Live audiences seriously scare me.
Yet you've got such a rapport with them. You look so relaxed in those clips on YouTube.
Yeah, well, one thing the social networks did get right is the reason I quit performing.
Oh?
I was manic when I was on the road with the band. Crazy. I'd stay up days on end. Back home, I was horribly depressed. I'd sleep for a week. My life was a mess. My first wife left me, and my second wife left me. I've got 3 children I hardly know. My son sent me a card just before Soundhole split up, in which he'd written he'd seen more of me on TV than in the flesh.
Before you listen to the rest of the talk, you have 30 seconds to read questions 15 to 20.
So how long have you been making acoustic guitars, Hamish?
Full-time for about 3 years. My sister and I work together. She sources the materials and does the books. I build the instruments.
I checked on the internet last night, and it's a long process to make a guitar.
You bet. There's at least 15 steps. I won't go into them all now, but sourcing the wood, the first step, is crucial. Cheap guitars use softer wood, which equates with poorer sound quality. But harder wood is scarce these days. For instance, the back of a great guitar, historically, was made from Brazilian rosewood, but the supply is minuscule now. I use East Indian rosewood, which will also disappear soon. Likewise, spruce was once preferred for the top of a guitar, but I use cedar, which is more plentiful.
I thought guitars were mainly mahogany.
Cheap guitars, yes, but only the necks of good ones. The neck must resist distortion when pulled by the strings, and it mustn't swell or contract with changes in temperature and humidity. Mahogany's perfect for the neck.
I like that wavy pattern you get on the tops and backs of guitars. How's that done?
That pattern is called book matching. A thickish block of wood about half the size of the body is sliced horizontally. The 2 pieces are laid together with the grain continuous before they're glued.
Right.
The next 2 steps are to saw the top of the guitar into that sensual shape and cut out the sound hole.
What's inside the guitar to control its vibration and improve its tone?
Braces. Narrow little bits of wood, glued in an X pattern. The process is known as strutting. The back also has strutting to reflect sound waves.
Interesting. How's the neck made?
It's carved from a single piece of mahogany, and a metal rod is driven up into it for reinforcement.
How'd you get those lovely curved sides?
Strips are cut, sanded, and soaked in water. They're moulded until they're set in that shape. When everything's been glued together, the back, the sides, the top, and the neck, the guitar is put into clamps for several days. There are some other reinforcements too, like end blocks and bindings.
I guess precision is the key to much of this work.
Absolutely. In fact, guitar making has improved my mental health because everything's nice and slow and precise. I'm alone in my workshop, dealing with wood. It has a calming effect.
It seems as though you sound whole again.
Please, no more silly puns on the name of our band. I spent 14 years explaining that whole was spelt with a W.
That is the end of part 2. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 2.